Lovely evening, welcome. This is Sports Zone on Joy Prime. My name is Fentio, Tahir Fentio. Happy Easter to all of you. Welcome to the show. For the next 60 minutes, we're putting a spotlight on the Ghana FA Cup. The semi-finalists are now known. It's a fairy tale ride for King Faisal and Dreams FC. But the lower division side, Sky FC, could be in for some upsets. We'll look back on the quarter-final fixtures here on the show. Also, the Premier League title race is getting hotter and hotter as Liverpool put a halt on Arsenal's title charge. Can Manchester City take advantage with 6 points to separate them and the citizens playing a game less? It really is down to go straight down to the wire. We'll look back at what has been an incredible weekend of action in the Premier League where, well, Frank Lampard's return to Chelsea was not the kind of fairy tale return he was expecting. Another defeat for the Blues. Where do they go next from now on? There's Champions League to come on Tuesday and Wednesday. We'll look ahead to those matches. Manchester City against Bayern Munich. It's a cracking affair. There's also Chelsea against Real Madrid on Wednesday night. So who will take the advantage from those first leg games? Also, coming up, the rebuild of the Black Queens is taking real good shape. They beat Senegal 3-0 in a friendly game. We'll show you some highlights from that particular match and tell you where exactly the Black Queens are heading. And then we'll wrap up the conversation, of course, with Jordan Ayew, who got a brace this weekend. And there's only one man all of you are excited to hear from when the Jordan Ayew's name is mentioned. Daniel Cranting has come here specifically for Jordan Ayew in view of his wonderful weekend of football in the Premier League. All of that to come here over the next 60 minutes. My name is Fentio, Tahir Fentio. The show is live and interactive on social media. The hashtag is SportsZone on Twitter. So leave me a message there, your comments on all of the things that have been going on, especially that comparison between Nemanja Vidic and Virgil van Dijk. It's ripping the internet apart. So Jimmy Carragher says Virgil van Dijk is a better defender than Nemanja Vidic ever was. And it's riled up quite a lot of people who say that cannot be true. I don't know about you. Watching at home, what do you think? Who is the better defender, Virgil van Dijk or Nemanja Matic? Let me know. Leave me a message with the hashtag SportsZone on Twitter. Also, of course, on WhatsApp, the number is 055, of course, 0551 57 57 57, 0551 57 57 57. That's our WhatsApp number. I'll be taking messages. The show is brought to you by Hunters. We'll take a very short break. When we come back, I introduce my guest and we get the show on the road. All right, welcome back. This is Sports Zone on Joy Prime. We're running till 10 p.m. It's the Easter Monday edition of the show. Welcome from wherever you've tuned in. Like I said, quite a lot to cover today on the show. Brought to you by Hunters, and I've got my usual suspects, two undisputed best sports analysts in this country, Sicho and Daniel Cranting. Guys, welcome to the show. Jordan Yamin.
This is the day the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad.
Oh, Charlie. Oh, Charlie.
Ah, it's spicy.
No, you see, the kind of God you have, everybody must pray for some.
I'm telling you.
He's big.
Ever since Daniel started his Jordan agenda, it's all been going well for Jordan. It has there's no be Yawadeo.
Yes, lovely assist.
Number 10 dominance for Angola. Oh, Charlie.
Oh, Jordan.
Charlie.
Oh, Jordan.
No, we show you the Jordan goals. But Daniel, let's talk about Hunters.
The way I will read and
That's how you celebrated the Easter.
Charlie, this one, forgive me close up.
Go ahead, Daniel.
This one is Jordan's.
Tell us about Hunters.
Hunters Real Apple Cider.
Thank you.
Introducing Hunters Real Apple Cider.
Yes.
A crisp, refreshing beverage.
This is your camera, Daniel. This one here.
This one here.
Yes. Thank you.
That's perfect for any occasion. is made from hand-picked apples.
Okay.
Oh, Charlie. Oh, Charlie. And crafted using traditional techniques. Hunter's real apple cider is bursting with natural apple flavors and a hint of sweetness.
That's
like
right. The hint that Chicho likes, you know.
A hint of sweetness like Jordan Unlike other ciders, unlike other strikers.
Yes.
Oh, Charlie.
Oh,
Hunter's
Charlie,
real
today,
apple
dear, we
cider
die, oh.
is made of 100% pure apple juice with no added sugar or artificial flavor. Jordan, are you clean?
100% hard work.
Natural. Jordan, are you? Whether you are looking for a chilled, refreshing drink, whether you are looking for an assist on a hot, sunny day, or a warm beverage during the colder months, or a breeze.
Versatile.
That's right.
Hunter's real apple cider is the perfect choice. Oh, Jordan, are you? Actually. Enjoy it on its own. Jordan can play alone.
That's right. That's right.
Or pair it with your favorite meal. Or he can play with his teammates.
Thank you.
Oh, Charlie.
Thank you.
Versatile.
Oh, I like this. I like this. I like this.
Charlie, pair it with your favorite meal for a delicious and satisfying experience. With Jordan and you have a satisfying experience, just like Hunter's real apple cider. Experience the true taste of real apples in every sip. I like it.
That's
Charlie.
right. That's right.
Hunter's real apple cider. Charlie, it's got real apples. Another quality product by Casa Preco.
That's right. Casa Preco.
For bulk purchase,
Say it, Keke.
Casa Preco.
Casa Preco.
For bulk purchase, contact us on 026 235 1251.
That's right.
Like the scoreline between Leeds United and Crystal
It's
Palace.
okay. Thank you. So, Hunter's Red Apple bringing us this show. Thank you very much for choosing to be on the best Monday Night Sports show in this country, without a doubt. I'm not the one saying it. You know already. You can't dispute it. All right, let's get straight into the action then. I've got lots of your messages are coming. The hashtag on Twitter is SportsZone. So leave me a message there. Use the hashtag SportsZone. Karim is retweeting them, and I'll read them and share them with the rest of our viewers from across the world. But also on WhatsApp, if you prefer to send me a message there. My tablet is here. The WhatsApp messages are coming through. The number is 0551. It's on your screen. 57. I've got a very interesting message here. And we are large and in charge. We're everywhere. It says, "Hi, Fen. I'm watching you live from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. You guys are doing a wonderful job. And my regards to Daniel." This is Shaggy Polo.
Shaggy Polo.
Shaggy Polo.
Shaggy Polo.
Yes, and you can watch us
from Shaggy Polo.
You can watch us from anywhere around the world on multitvworld.com. So it's really that simple. multitvworld.com. You can see all the multimedia channels there. Joy Prime, Joy News. So that's where I'm sure Shaggy Polo is watching us from. multitvworld.com. Unfortunately, we can't stream on Facebook because of the highlights. Premier League will strike our channel and they will say that it's not our highlights and we are showing it on Facebook. So we don't want to get into there. But it will be available on YouTube. The analysis will be available on YouTube tomorrow on the Joy Prime channel. Let's begin at home. King Faisal made it through to the final of the MTN FA Cup. They beat Ediano Stars 1. This is their stadium. It's built a stadium for them. Even Kotoko don't have this. But that's more than 80% of the Premier League venues in this country. But Sicho, great weekend great last few days for King Faisal. They were battling relegation at some point, but they are now unbeaten in their last 4 games. And Randa has now put them in the last 4 of the FA Cup.
New managerial bounce. Coach Ignatius Osefusu.
Oh, that's right.
If you're looking for a manager to bring you a bounce,
that's the guy.
The feel-good factor, clear example, happening in Ghana.
Yep.
And that is what he's done. And
I see why you have to shade some people, but go on.
No, it's a fact, isn't it?
It's a fact.
I mean, he came hours to playing Kotoko.
Yes.
He got a draw.
You said a real managerial bounce.
Proper one.
New managerial bounce. So you know where he's going.
I don't know where he's going.
What do you think?
I'm very confused.
Ignatius
Sicho.
doesn't think
Continue.
Ignatius, I mean, I like him. I like his style. He creates news and everything.
Yes.
And I very much want him to be a successful coach. Yeah. Unfortunately for him, because of several factors, he hasn't always worked for him wherever he's gone, everywhere he's been. He's been there for few months and he's been sacked, never really been given the opportunity to do the things that he wants to do. And I hope that we can first, if he keeps them up, they can have a proper plan. We spoke about them, I think, 2 weeks ago, where we said they need to create a culture that is a long-lasting one, not that you're battling relegation every season and something that is more sustainable. And maybe with him, they can do that. But the season is not done yet. But with King Faisal in the FA Cup semi-final, that is huge.
Yeah.
But far apart from that, I think the edifice, the venue, is what impressed me.
Yeah.
More so is how it popped up on TV.
Yep.
The same group of people, the same broadcaster who broadcasts or produces the games we see and we complain about.
From other venues.
From other venues were the same people who were producing this game.
And this looks nice.
And I've always said, because I've been around that before, I've always said that when it looks terrible on TV, you can't single-handedly blame it on.
It's not the cameras.
It's
the
not.
camera is an HD camera.
This venue. I mean, I was watching the game. I'm like, wow, it doesn't look Ghana. And credit to look. And the pitch, because it's fresh, looks good.
Look at this. This is European standard.
Absolutely.
Even the seats, the customer have made it back-to-back semi-finals in the FA Cup. That is unbelievably wonderful for them. So Dreams FC beat Legon Cities. You see it there. And King Faisal beating Adriana, of course. And you see the other fixtures there. So the semi-final fixtures are set. King Faisal.
You're playing Swartreman FC.
Yes, I think Faisal will pick on in Swartreman. Apologies, my eyes are not very good.
Sky FC.
And then Sky FC against Dreams. That's a very interesting one. Quick one on Dreams FC. They are also having a very challenging season, obviously. In fact, the man that started with them is now in charge of King Faisal. He's left, and they've made it into the semi-finals of the FA Cup. Back to back. Last year, they were there as well. This must come as a bit of a good relief for them because, obviously, apart from even just the fact that they're in the Final Four, it also comes with financial rewards. That's the only competition that rewards progress, unlike the Ghana Premier League, which doesn't do merit payments. The MTN FA Cup does merit payments.
Yeah. Look, it's really good for them. And if you look at the run into the semi-finals, I think they've had one of the difficult runs in terms of the teams that they face. They beat Hearts of Oak. They face another Premier League team in Legon Cities in the quarterfinals. So it's been quite a difficult run. And when you compare that to what they are doing in the league, you have to commend them for it because they've not been that impressive in the league. But when they come up in the cup competitions, they're able to navigate those one-off games and get the needed result. And sometimes you need to credit and also understand the importance of some of these runs because it's a season. The season is not based on just what you do in the league. If they're able to get to a final or win this competition, it is huge for a club like Dreams FC. And winning these cup games, it gives you this certain level of goodwill and it just raises a positivity in your camp, and it can help you in your charge to escape relegation. So it's really good that they are doing this. And look, for Dreams FC's sake and the consistency that they showed, you saw them at this stage last season, and they are here again. You just hope that maybe this time around they're able to progress a bit further. And
credit to Sky FC as well, the only lower division team in the semi-finals of the FA Cup. Credit to them, except that this time around, thankfully, they didn't beat anybody on their way to the to the semi-finals last year. So credit to Mr. Wilson Arthur, the chairman of the FA Cup committee. That's his football club. They've comported themselves very well this season, and I'm proud of you. That's more of that, okay? Very important. Someone sent a message saying that the stadium wasn't built by Kwame Che. I think we know that. That is the venue of Kesbin FC. Okay, Kwame Nakesi is the one that really started that project. But you can't throw away the amount of work even Kwame Che himself has put into it. So, I mean, I understand where you're coming from, and I fully know who started that stadium. And that used to be the venue of Kesbin FC. They even played some Premier League matches there a long time ago. But obviously, Kwame Che has done a lot of work there as well since taking charge of that facility. But let's move on to the Premier League, where one man was the subject of every talking point in the Ghana space. Jordan Ayew's father is back, Roy Hodgson. Jordan Ayew had gone through the entire season, scoring just one goal. Roy Hodgson takes charge of the team, and in 2 matches, Jordan Ayew has 2 goals and 1 assist already. And one of them, in fact, and in both matches, he didn't even play 90 minutes. And he's having a great season. They came back from a goal down. So Leeds United scored first, and then Crystal Palace absolutely turned it around and scored 5 unanswered goals to win the match by 5 goals to 1. And that's the first goal. And it's an assist, obviously, from Jeffrey Schlupp. So the Ghanaians were in good form in this game. So that's Jeffrey Schlupp with the initial header, and then just turned home for 1-1. Then you see Jordan Ayew. That's the second goal. It's a header, brilliant, from the far post into the back of the net. And look at the celebration. Yeah, I'm not sure who he's pointing to, but yeah, Jordan Ayew. I've never seen him score a header, Jordan. Daniel, you want to take it away? And then, of course, here again, Crystal Palace with another opportunity. And that's the third goal they have scored. And Eze, the number 10. All right. Nigerian to Nigerian. Okay. Incredible stuff. Imagine these two playing for the Super Eagles, but both of them said no. And then Jordan Ayew turned it home. Well, that's not his. He scored the 5th one. So this is the 4th goal, of course, but from Edouard. And then Jordan scored the 5th goal, and then he was substituted. And then there was enough time for him to even be substituted. But Daniel, you talk about this all the time. You talk about instructions. That's Jordan. Boom. That's his 2nd goal of the game. And then he was substituted. I mean, talk us through this. I don't even want to say anything else.
Fent.
Just gloat away.
Oh, no, I'm not here to gloat. I'm not here to gloat.
It's normal.
Oh, it's normal. So you see, what I'll give myself credit for is being consistent.
Yes.
Okay. I've always said that you need to apply context to analysis. When Jordan Ayew was failing to give offensive numbers for Crystal Palace, I made a comparative analysis between the style of Crystal Palace at the time. You look at that of the Black Stars. You look at the other wingers who have performed in and around him. Yeah. The numbers were very similar. At Crystal Palace, you looked at in the last season that Roy Hodgson played to the first 2 that Patrick Vieira took over. The attacking patterns were such that the final ball fell to Wilfred Zaha. It was patterned towards Wilfred Zaha, similar to what we see Liverpool do. So although Salah is playing on the wide side, I'm talking about traditionally, not just this season. Although we see Salah play on the right-hand side, he is usually at the end of most of the chances. Yeah. Jordan Ayew and the central striker at the time, whoever it was, be it Mateta, Benteke, Edouard, they always seemed to struggle. Yeah. And it was about style and instructions. It wasn't about the player's inability to do it. If you look at what Roy Hodgson has done in the opening 2 games, and I'm not the one who is saying it, there's an article on the Premier League website that is talking about him taking the shackles off the team. Yeah. He's allowed them to be offensive. You look at Olise, you look at Eze, you look at Jordan. These guys are all of a sudden being given the freedom. Look at the fluidity.
Edouard, he was struggling.
Yeah, even Edouard, look at the fluidity he gave them in terms of their movement. Jordan is usually stuck on the right-hand side under Vieira, and his job is to track back, go up and down. This time around, he played on the left. He had license to move into the middle. You saw Olise also moving around. You saw Eze when he came, freedom to burst into the final. The manager has allowed them to be able to play this sort of football. And that is why this time the numbers are coming. Yeah. I always said that, you see, if Jordan wasn't scoring then, and when Jordan wasn't scoring, if you want to say he was bad at goal scoring, then you check the number of shots he's been allowed to take, the proximity of the shots to goal. You compare it to the people around him and see if he's taking 5, why is he not scoring 1? But if the player is averaging, let's say, less than 1 shot a game and he's not scoring goals, that is clearly not... You can't complain. The team doesn't score goals. But Roy Hodgson has...
Or he doesn't play close enough to the goal.
They've now scored 7 goals in the last 2 games. Jordan hasn't played 90 minutes in terms of combined minutes. He's already given an assist and scored 2 goals. And he could have easily scored a hat-trick. Yeah. Roy Hodgson knew. But he said, relax the goals for next week. He said, relax the goals for next week. So I'm happy.
You are happy.
And the thing is,
we all are.
It's not like this is not something we've not seen before. I mentioned the 2019-2020 season where he came to the AFCON, top scored for Ghana, went to Crystal Palace, top scored for Crystal Palace. In the following season, we see a positional change where he's sent to the wings instead of a number 9. So you can't expect him to produce the same numbers in a different position under different instructions in a different role So sometimes we need to understand
instructions. So sometimes we're a bit too hard on the players.
No, but I can understand Danny is happy, and I'm happy for Jordan. Like I like Jordan.
Okay.
But he's just not prolific enough. We can't. Okay. So as you really said,
prolific enough for which level?
Because level.
For a mid-table team, they don't need a striker that is scoring 15, 20.
No, he's not prolific enough. And as you rightly said, a lot of the football they played is designed for the ball to get to Wolves because it's the better goal scorer. Okay. If Jordan had a bit more, and they train with these players every time, he's a great asset to have in the team. But surely one of Jordan's strengths isn't goal scoring. It's
not. Is the team set up for him to be doing the scoring?
He doesn't have it. Why did they set up the team for Zaha to do scoring? Why did they set up the team for Gallagher to do scoring last season in Crystal Palace?
You're saying that the setup is a consequence of his inabilities.
And his inabilities.
But the setup for him to do the goal scoring, he top scored and was best player before.
No, so he's had these moments. He had these spells. But he's never been able... Jordan is not young. He's not 22.
He's 31.
He's 31. And he's had these spells where we've seen that he can chip in goals here and there. But throughout his career,
he's never been a really consistent goal scorer.
That he's a good player. Every manager would like to work with him because apart from finishing off goals or chances, he brings other things to the team.
Yes.
And I don't think one of his greatest assets
is goal scoring.
Is goal scoring for sure. But I'm happy for him he got a brace.
That is fair. All right, let's move it on then. Chelsea and Frank Lampard, a new era was supposed to begin with the return of their former deputy captain, Frank Lampard, came back to charge of the team. Their first game against Wolverhampton Wanderers. The other highlights, Chelsea lost by 1-0. It was a wonderful strike from Nunes before half-time.
And one thing that disappointed me about Lampard, he kept speaking about the aggression. What about quality?
Yeah.
Because we didn't see enough of that in this fixture. When you play against Wolverhampton Wanderers and you're Chelsea, it's automatic that you have to get aggression. It has to be there. You need to be hungry to want to win. But the quality will give you the 3 points. And listen, what we saw under Frank Lampard's first game is not different from what he had seen under Potter or what we saw. In fact, Chelsea's game against Liverpool was a lot better than what we saw against Wolverhampton Wanderers. Mm-hmm. So the problem still lingers on. And you wonder if Lampard can just bring what we were calling the feel-good factor around the club before the season ends.
Interesting. We'll talk a bit more about Chelsea and where they go next because they're in action on Wednesday night against Real Madrid. And we'll talk about the Champions League fixtures and we'll preview the matches. So when we get there, we'll talk about what Lampard needs to do or how they can turn their season around Chelsea Football Club. But let's do more Premier League. Liverpool hosted Arsenal Football Club. That match ended 2-2. It was an incredibly pulsating game of football. Arsenal for Jesus, who made no mistake from 6 yards, planting that header beyond Alisson. And, from then on, it looked like Arsenal were cruising, Daniel. Then everything changed in that second half. Liverpool were a completely different side.
Yeah, I sort of have a different opinion about how I saw the first half.
Yeah.
So, although Arsenal seemed comfortable, anytime Liverpool picked up the ball, they looked dangerous.
They looked dangerous.
And that's how I saw it. Liverpool, clearly, they had not settled into the first half. They were very patchy in terms of their possession. And it didn't quite look to me like they wanted to keep the ball and dictate the tempo. That's how it looked to me. Also because of how well Arsenal applied pressure on them. And even at 1-0, when Arsenal was leading, we just needed that one goal.
Yeah.
And once they got it just before halftime, even after the goal, no, this penalty was a clear penalty. If you don't agree, I don't know what you are talking about.
And that's a pen. That's clumsy.
Penalty all day. When Konate, and I think we'll see the highlights for that. When Konate chested the ball and Ramsdale saved it, the ball having 3 penalties in the game. Yeah. It is still a penalty.
The box, the foul in the box.
No, it is. Sichu,
right.
But let's talk about Ramsdale.
Oh, yeah, but incredible goalkeeper. It really is.
Man of the match performance.
He's got this attitude about him. He just doesn't know when he's beaten. And I remember when he was the goalkeeper for Sheffield United, even when they were on their way to relegation, he still looked like that one player in the side who was always vocal. And one of the reasons why Arsenal brought him in was because of that mental toughness about him. Because he had been with teams that had been relegated twice back to back. But Arsenal just felt that he's that one player who's got an attitude about him that they would need in their camp. And we've seen him this season. Arsenal have won games or won points because of him. Against Brentford, it was the same. And here at Anfield. And as Danny said it, when Liverpool turn up like that at Anfield, it doesn't matter who you are. You will be pinned. And Liverpool pinned Arsenal. And I'm saying Arsenal were lucky to walk away from Anfield with 1 point. And as Danny said, in the first half as well, I agree with him. It doesn't look like, Arsenal dominated that half. But I think the 2 goals they had and the timing of the goals meant that they didn't need to control the game as much as they would have loved in that first half. Because when you've got 2 goals at Anfield,
naturally you want to defend
if the coach doesn't tell you the players, you are thinking, Charlie, do we have to risk that much?
Because to be fair to the players, if they had gone on to attack and lost this match, we would have blamed Arteta and called him amateur.
Absolutely. Something you have to be defending, all of that.
Yeah.
But this is one of Liverpool's, especially that second half, it's one of Liverpool's best performance I've seen all season.
Wow.
And Liverpool fans will be thinking, where has that been?
I know. Where is this team the whole time?
Because that performance beats every Premier League team this season.
True.
That second half, Darwin Núñez missed the sitter. Mohamed Salah missed the penalty.
For this season, involving those 2 clubs. Okay, there you go. So Man City have more matches than Arsenal. I think just 1 more. But they're 8 games for Man City, 7 games for Arsenal. West Ham, okay, Southampton, Man City, Chelsea, Newcastle, Brighton, Nottingham Forest, Wolverhampton Wanderers. Okay, that looks tough on paper, doesn't it? Man City, okay, maybe West Ham, not so good. Newcastle and Man City, realistically, are the toughest in there. Chelsea, not so much. Man City, on the other hand, well, they have to play Arsenal. That's a big deal. They have to play who else? Well,
Brighton.
Brighton.
Away.
Brighton are very good this season. So
the last game of the season, Brentford.
The last game of the season is very tricky as well. So that's what is left. So the title running, 6 points. Man City have played 1 game less. Daniel, where's your head at? Not your heart.
Where's my head?
Where's your head?
This is the one time that I feel my head and my heart agree. Look, Arsenal should have won yesterday because Manchester City, and we've seen the records, they have, I think it's the best record when it comes to the last 10 games in the season. When it comes to crunch time, they know how to do it. They are supposed to
They can put together an 11-game winning streak.
The thing is, it has happened this season already, where Man City knew they had to go to the Emirates, beat Arsenal and go on top. And they beat them 3-1.
Nice.
Cool, composed, sweet.
Yeah.
Now they know that advantage is in their hands.
Yeah.
Because if they win all their games, they are winning the league. That's literally
true.
what it is.
Yeah, because there's Arsenal in there.
Yes, so Arsenal is now hoping that they are on top, but they are hoping that Manchester City will drop points. And that's where it gets tricky. I'm looking at Man City's difficult fixtures, and there are 2 in there. The Brighton away, Brentford away, because I really feel like if Arsenal is coming today, it's a hard. Man City will beat them. It doesn't. If it's 0.5 in pool, Man City will win. But Brighton, especially Brentford on the last day, it is very tricky.
Interesting.
And Man City will be hoping that Arsenal will even drop extra points, so that on the last day when they are going to Brentford, they may not have to win the league, because it's really tricky for both sides, although I'm slightly leaning towards Manchester City.
Ticho.
Well, I think Arsenal fans will hope that City do progress in the Champions League, because that could have a ripple effect on how they perform in other games. I personally think the City team is weaker than last season's team. So Pep Guardiola doesn't always have the luxury he used to have last season with Gabriel Jesus and some players to rotate. And still, if you like, the quality is still there. But if City are going to be progressing in the Champions League, they're going to be buying, they are going to be facing Chelsea or Real Madrid, that could actually also play into some of the games they play. And City are in the FA Cup semi-final as well. So they've got more to think about than Arsenal do. And you just wonder if, in between the Premier League games, if some of these Champions League fixtures or the FA Cup semi-final could give them more to think about, then just maybe they might not be as sharp and ready for some of the Premier League games. But as Danny said, they've been here before. They've been here with Liverpool before. They've gone back-to-back games, winning 9 consecutive games or 11 to make sure that they are within touching distance or a point above the team they are competing with. So they've got experience. For Arsenal, I think they've got more difficult fixtures. If you're going to play against, on paper, I personally do think so. I think the London derby between Arsenal and Chelsea, when Chelsea know they can stop Arsenal from winning the league, it could be different. The mentality is different.
Spurs know all about that.
Yeah, it's very different. It's London, it's bragging rights. I mean, Chelsea are going to say we stopped Arsenal from winning the league. Arsenal are going to play against Newcastle at the St. James's Park. That is an incredibly difficult place to go this season, especially what they've made that place look like. So I think Arsenal have got some tricky fixtures, but they'll be hoping that City, with their busy schedule in Champions League, maybe FA Cup, will give them a lot more on their plates.
And Chelsea have a very interesting history of scuppering teams' attempts at winning league, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
did it to Spurs in 2016.
Yeah.
They did it to Liverpool in 2013. Yeah. It's unbelievable what they are capable of. Let me read some of your messages. After that, I'll show you a very interesting tweet that has sparked massive conversation on social media. And then we move on to Champions League football because this week, the UEFA Champions League quarter-final matches return. Lots of your messages have come in on our WhatsApp number 0551 575757 0551 5757. On Twitter, your messages have come through on the hashtag SportsZone. A lot of you are commenting on the Vidic versus Virgil van Dijk commentary or debate. Who was or is the better defender? Of course, Vidic has retired. Van Dijk is still playing. Jamie Carragher is the one who sparked that conversation. And lots of you have a lot to say about that. But let me read some of your messages that have come through, starting with the ones on WhatsApp. Gideon Cabra from Mama Seman says, I just want to say that Arsenal should watch out for Man City because Arsenal still have Chelsea, Newcastle, and City to play. All right? This one says, Fent, let's not start this comparison. Virgil van Dijk cannot be compared to the almighty Nemanja Vidic. Ask Drogba, and he will tell you about Vidic. Drogba would have gone past Virgil van Dijk easily all day. Richmond from Bawi. This one says, that in case you see Jordan scored a brace, nobody talks about it. If like their favorite player score, no, we don't go sleep. As for my team, Chelsea, the least said about them, the better. 4 coaches this season, still bottom half. We don't even know who to blame. So, Fen, give us your honest opinion about our team. Tajuddin from Sawaba in Tamale. Tajuddin, you want my opinion? I'll give you. Don't worry. More messages here. Good evening, Tahiru. I think it's high time Jordan gets the credit he deserves in this country. Because putting in these performances every week is no mean achievement. Another rivalry in football has come. Valverde versus Bayern. Anytime Real Madrid play Villarreal, we're waiting again for Vini versus James. Arno and Arojo should sit and learn from James on how to meet Vinicius Jr. Mohamed Uche in Tema, Community 25, with that message. Clearly a Reece James fan. The Chancellor from Kumase Abripo says, whoever said Virgil van Dijk is a better player than Vidic must have woken up from the wrong side of his bed. I mean, how can you compare apples and bananas? Interesting. Good evening, friends, too. I feel good as a Man City fan. This is where Professor comes in. I'm Erskine Churches, the congressman inside Agona Swedru. Erskine, thank you for your message. Wofache Bremai Esikuma says, you were like Trinity, but now you are not. Please bring the Holy Spirit to make you Trinity. It's a coded message, but I understand it. Okay, this one just says, good evening. Good evening to you too. All right. I'm Chrysanthus Barena. His name is Chrysanthus Barena, watching you live inside Jarapa, Dubai. You guys are too much, especially you. I don't throw this to Dano. Fais-toi. Fentuo. So it's Fentuo. Please, I beg you. Fentuo. I really miss you on the other show. Okay. Anyway, good to hear from you this evening. Jordan is trending, he says. All right. Hello, I'm Albert, watching you live from Ablikuma. The match between Bayern and City is going to be a cracker, but I tip Bayern as favorites to win. Joe Prime, more fire, he says. George from Mampo Equiapim says, Man City will win the EPL this season. Mark my words. Okay. And this message is from Kofi Inkaso, who says, Jordan Ayew has scored more goals this season than Vegas of Man United. And Vegas is a striker. He says, interesting, Kofi. Anyway, this message says, good evening. It's over for Arsenal now because we, the citizens, will beat Leicester City and beat Arsenal at the Etihad. No mercy for the cripple. From Abdallah Tarimbia in Bimbila. He sent in that message. This message says, I'm happy seeing Jordan scoring. I can't love him less. I'm Pada, watching you live from Equatorial Guinea. Wow, that's interesting. That's amazing. And this one says, Jordan Ayew was pointing to Danike after his first goal. I asked the question who or what he was pointing to. It was Daniel. It was you, eh? It was me. Jordan! We are live and in charge in Equatorial Guinea. That's really good to know. Anyway, I'll read more messages towards the end of the show. So don't worry, I promise you, I'll read more messages. But let me show you this. This is what started the whole debate. In case you were wondering, how did we arrive here, where Virgil van Dijk, we're being told now, was a better defender, or is a better defender than Nemanja Matic was. And it came from former Liverpool defender Jamie Carragher, who says VVD is far better than Vidic, who was a what? A top centre-back, he says. But we have forgotten his performances. Have we forgotten his performances against Torres?
Yeah.
Interesting. So
Rio and JT had poor seasons.
Rio Ferdinand and JT had poor seasons too in their careers, like all players. And it's VVD is having one now. But no centre-back in the Premier League. He says no centre-back. Thank you. He says no centre-back in the Premier League era has ever had VVD's impact on a team. Interesting. So no centre-back in the history of the Premier League era has ever had this much impact on a team like the way VVD has had on Liverpool. And that's Jamie Carragher. And he says John Terry, Rio Ferdinand, Nemanja Matic have all had poor seasons. So people should stop saying because VVD is having a poor season this year, it automatically means he's a bad defender. He says he is the best centre-back the Premier League has ever seen. Simplicity.
Are you going to go? Let me go. Listen. When you say Rio Ferdinand, JT have all had poor seasons in their careers, this is supposed to be Van Dijk speak. This is supposed to be speak, yes. I don't necessarily recall.
Okay, Sicho, you hold on.
Right.
We have to fix your microphone. But Daniel, you can go on now and have a bite at this.
I'm sad. First of all, I'm sad that this has even become a debate. Because, you see, some of these debates are honestly very disrespectful. No, seriously speaking. I don't see how Van Dijk was average at Southampton. And when I say average...
Was he average?
He had one good season at Southampton. He got injured, came back, Liverpool bought him. That was average. It wasn't good enough to properly assess him. He came to Liverpool. Of course, he had a huge impact. But you see, don't confuse a Liverpool legend. And because he's a Liverpool legend, automatically make him a Premier League legend and push aside everybody.
Look at the numbers.
Vidic is the only defender, or was the first defender in Premier League history to be named Player of the Season. He's the only defender to win Player of the Season twice. 2 times. The first time he did it, he had teammates like Wayne Rooney. Yeah. There were the likes of Didier Drogba, Fernando Torres, what's his name? Carragher referred to, all playing in the league. But Vidic was the best player that season. Look, even the wording of the tweet is very simplistic. It sounds like a schoolboy argument. Have you forgotten his performances against Torres?
That's just one. Meanwhile, somebody actually pointed out that Torres scored
he played 15 games against Vidic. He scored 5 times.
Didier Drogba and Fernando Torres had horrible times against Nemanja Vidic.
Yes. Yeah. And because of 1 or 2, the slip. And because of that, all of a sudden. So then in Carragher's, if we are going by this Carragher's schoolboy logic, then Steven Gerrard too is not a great player because he slipped.
Yeah.
Because remember that one moment and he used to judge his entire career.
And you see, even that last sentence where he says no centre-back in the Premier League era has ever had VVD's impact on a team.
That's false.
If you take John Terry out of that Chelsea defense,
it's not even John
They don't
Terry.
even win the league.
Let's even try and let's even try and make an argument based on similarities. Okay, when Van Dijk came into Liverpool, they were now trying to become a big team in terms of challenging for the Premier League title.
Yeah.
Look at what Vincent Kompany did with Manchester City. Kompany has won how many?
Yeah, so it's almost as if he's making nonsense of anybody that had been there from the beginning and been consistent.
Look, once Kompany wasn't playing, you knew you had a chance.
Yeah.
Literally. Once Kompany wasn't playing, you knew Kompany was
for my money. Kompany's a better defender than Van Dijk.
You shouldn't even be saying it. You shouldn't even be saying this.
But friends, okay, so this is it. Listen, I'm not going to take anything away from how good Virgil van Dijk has been for Liverpool since he came to the club, because When they remember they signed him in a January transfer, and when he came to the club, Liverpool had a problem with defending. Once they signed Van Dijk, he seemed to have steadied that, and in that season they went to the Champions League final.
Yeah.
Then Karius happened. They brought in Alisson. They went back later. They've won it. So his impact has been great for Liverpool. But again, you also have to ask genuine questions about what are you looking for. I'm talking about we're in an era where I tweeted this the last time that where everybody is praising defenders for their attacking qualities and praising attackers for their defensive shifts. It's a confused world now. I understand it's 11-11, but you cannot tell me that a striker who isn't a good finisher works hard, so he's good for the team, and for a defender who isn't a good defender in defending principles is good for the team because he creates chances.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. At the end of the day, what is your job? Defending. Listen, Virgil van Dijk might be better at footballing. When I say footballing, dribbling, passing, running with the ball than Vidic. But he's a centre back.
The art of defending
Virgil van Dijk, it's not anywhere near Nemanja Vidic when it comes to defending.
The art of defending.
Awareness, aggression, calmness. And people think Vidic was always diving into, he knew when to be calm. He knew when to be aggressive. And this guy Vidic scores goals and important goals. He's better with the head than Van Dijk. He's better at winning tackles. He was the Premier League player of the season, not once, but twice.
As a centre back.
And Virgil van Dijk isn't even Jurgen Klopp's most important player in the club era. That has got to be Mohamed Salah. Nobody should take that away from Mo.
All right, thank you. Let's stop that conversation there. Let me take a couple of messages on Twitter. Then we'll go to Champions League coming up this weekend. Abdul Wahid Raul, these messages are on Twitter on the hashtag SportsZone. He says, truth be told, I love that Nikkei giving Jordan Ayew. It's his super genuine. God bless him. As for Vidic and Van Dijk debate, it's funny because Van Dijk is no match for the legendary Vidic. Thank you, Abdul Wahid. Emmanuel says, kindly send that Nikkei has signed Crystal Palace jersey. He's talking to Jordan Ayew. All right, Akwesi, Wait Take Carter says, good evening, guys. Great show. Dedicate the show to Jordan 9. All right, we already did that. Richard Nana Baden says, hi, friend. I'm watching you guys live from New York City, Manhattan. I'm excited to see you and Danny together. Thank you, Richard. I'm sure you're also watching us on multitvworld.com. Eric, Simplicity, Eric Kayimbisa, he says, the God of Jordan is doing wonders. Okay. More messages on Twitter. Joel Kwabena Abuaji says, Jordan Ayew was pointing to Danny after his first goal. I think I read that. Ni Adote Thompson says, hello guys, great to have you on my screen. A lovely weekend run of matches with Chelsea doing the usual. Arsenal escaping with a draw by the skin of their teeth. And of course, United back to winning ways is always a joy. Big ups to Jordan and Danike as well. Kwame Echapuma, I think. He says, if you watch Olise's performance, you wonder if AE is a professional footballer. Oh, agenda.
But I've said it before.
Yeah, Harry Nichols
and Olise better at football than
AE. Harry Nichols from Joey says, Dean Smith just announced he's just been announced as Leicester's new manager. We Arsenal Sound played our way up the table and will maintain our position come what may. Come on, you Gunners. And Morgan says, please, can Chelsea stop playing the EPL for the rest of the season? This disgrace is too much. And I took him and says, bring him to complete the Sports Zone agenda. Anyway, Champions League this weekend. Let me show you the fixtures. Chelsea versus Real Madrid is taking center stage on Wednesday night. That is the biggest game everybody is talking about. So these are the fixtures. There's Man City against Bayern Munich. That's on Tuesday. We have live commentary on 99.7 Joy FM. Benfica against Inter Milan. And, of course, AC Milan against Napoli. So those are the matches in the UEFA Champions League. I'll just give you guys quick few seconds. Daniel, you built a reputation. Anyway, that's the head-to-head for Real Madrid. They've now met, and Real Madrid and Chelsea, sorry. They are now meeting for the third season in a row. The first one, you see it there, Chelsea beat them 2-0 after 1-1 from the first leg. And then last season, of course, Tuchel's last season, Real Madrid beat Chelsea at Stamford Bridge by 3-1. And it was Karim Benzema who scored a hat-trick. Then Chelsea went there and beat them 3-2. Real Madrid, of course, progressed. Let's look at the fixtures again, because I want Daniel to help investors, because the last time, the reputation he built for himself, he must he must continue the streak. Sicho. So Danny K, let's go. You see the fixtures on your screen.
How about it?
Pay attention. Who goes through, who doesn't?
Real Madrid versus Chelsea.
Yeah.
Yes.
Straight to Real Madrid.
Straight win.
I want Inter Benfica. What's up?
Inter Benfica.
Yeah.
And then I put the fixtures back up.
Inter Benfica, the first leg is at Benfica's home.
Yeah. You're going to Portugal.
Benfica win or draw.
Then what
It'll
about
be very close.
what about the Miexza, Milan and Napoli?
Milan win or draw.
Now that's where your mind is.
Yeah.
All right.
Osimhen is not playing.
And then Man City, Bayern.
Man City versus Bayern. Charlie.
Some way.
Some way. That game,
If Tuchel hadn't come, what would have been your?
if Tuchel hadn't come, Man City straight win.
I see. So Tuchel complete. So you can leave that one out of your slip.
That one they don't go.
Sicho, you want to have a crack at the predictions?
Right, yeah, I think it's unpredictable. City, Bayern, it's unpredictable.
Okay.
It really is. Anything you predict is going to
So
be...
just go for goals, maybe.
Yeah,
one's
perhaps.
safe.
Yeah, it's unpredictable. And that the game I'm going to be watching every single second of is at the Miezza, Milan and Napoli.
I know.
I think Milan will go through some. It's early to talk about who goes through, but I think,
Daniel
Milan
knows
will
my
win,
stand on that.
I think Milan will win at the San Siro. When it comes to Champions League nights,
It is soon, nebo.
end of story.
All right, thank you. Anyway, that's our show for tonight. Thank you very much, Daniel Cranton, Sicho Philip Atrim. It's been another wonderful edition of Sports Zone. Thank you, Daniel. The Jordan Ayew edition. My very lovely shirt was made by Emmanuel of Legend Clothing.
Oh, Emmanuel.
Charlie,
Yeah, Emmanuel, if you champion, if you
Charlie,
nice shirt.
Idua.
Yeah. Idua. If the boy said they like it, Idua. So, Ima of Legends Clothing, thank you very much for my lovely shirt. I absolutely love it. The producer is Benaya, directed by Mawili. Thanks so much, all of you, for tuning in. It's been lovely coming your way. This show repeats at 1 p.m. on Tuesday on Joy Prime. So, if you missed this, or tell a friend, you can catch up. And it'll be available on YouTube on the Joy Prime channel tomorrow as well for you to catch up. Until next time, take care. Bye-bye.